everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee's Wildcast. As you can see, our office is a little bit different today. We're on the plateau, and we're here with Mime Barnes, our Region 3 I&E coordinator, and we're happy to have her. Doug, what do you think about our new office out here?
I think we're with her. She's not with us.
Well, that's
Is
true.
that what you were saying?
That's true. Mime, we thank you for letting us be out here in your space today, and we're looking forward to this edition of Tennessee's Wildcast. So,
my pleasure. Happy to be here.
You got a beautiful place out here. Tell us about your place out here and just a little bit about where we are.
Well, we're fortunate enough to live right on the edge of the plateau, and it's a very diverse piece of property, and we get to be surrounded by what we love, nature,
yes.
Wildlife.
That's awesome.
And I think we should say that Rod is her husband, and we appreciate Rod. Retired from the military and a police officer, and we appreciate all his work and service. And Mimi, we appreciate you letting us come to your place today.
My pleasure.
This is
Thanks
awesome.
for being here.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep. Let's get started with a little bit of information on Tag Board and what we've been seeing out there on Tag Board. I'm going to pull up the slide here get a little assistance from our slide guy, Mr. Don King. Thank you. This is if you want to.
Don's new to this technology.
Yeah. If you want to contribute to our Tag Board, it's real easy. You can go to our website and click on the slider banner at the top, and here's an example of Mr. Keith Owenby. He sent in a big striper he caught. Nice. I'm not sure where, but it's a great photo. That's a great example
Very cool.
of how you can hashtag TN Wildlife, or this one's TN Trophy Room, and have it go up on our Tag Board. The other one, if you'll cut to that one, is an example of hashtagging TN Wildlife. This is just some wildlife that Mr. Frank Martin seen out in the wild, and it's a picture of a turtle. It's a cool shot. It shows the bottom and the top and how it looks, and that's really neat. So just stuff like that, being outdoors, seeing the outdoors, and that kind of thing. So thanks for doing that.
We love the good photography too.
Yeah.
And Mimi always is putting up great stuff like that also.
Yeah.
And she tags all the time.
I do.
Yeah, thank you for hashtagging. You're one of our main contributors.
She's number one tagger.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, Doug, Free Fishing Day is around the corner.
It is.
June 11th.
So is Memorial Day.
Yeah, Memorial Day this weekend. So be safe out there on the water. Wear that life jacket.
Now, I won't get back to Free Fishing Day, but Memorial Day, big weekend. It's a big weekend in the Middle Tennessee, East Tennessee, right on the plateau, because there's lakes everywhere, streams everywhere, and we hope everybody wears their life jacket, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Okay.
All right, let's get started. What do you say, Mimi? A little background, just a little bit. So where are you from originally? You hadn't been with us long at the agency, but you've done a lot since you've been here. But where did you come from?
My background's from Ohio. I worked with wildlife in Ohio and absolutely loved it, but definitely feel at home like I came home. My husband and I both feel like we came home when we came to Tennessee, and definitely feel at home with Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency. Love the agency, definitely my family. Love working here and enjoy it.
Oh, you're doing a great job, and we love having you.
Thanks.
We love having you. So anyway, let's move on. Your background, you said, is a lot in nuisance wildlife. You're very familiar with that kind of stuff. Tell us about some of the problem calls or nuisance wildlife issues you're hearing about in Region 3, and what's some of the stuff that we can do to help that?
This time of year, we're getting a lot of phone calls about does behaving oddly in people's yards, or a doe might attack a dog is what we're hearing. And it's not that a doe is attacking a dog. It's typically that they're protecting a fawn. So they leave those fawns curled up in tree lines, right in a flower bed sometimes, and people don't realize that's the defense of that young animal. And the doe will stay away. She'll only go check on that fawn to feed it a few times a day. And people find that fawn, and firstly, they think it's orphaned. It's not. Leave it alone and let the mother come back and do her job. And secondly, if the doe's behaving oddly, it's because that fawn's in the area, and just keep your dogs and kids away. If she's bothered enough, she'll move that fawn during the night or at a time that she feels safe. So that's one of the calls we're getting right now. We'll start getting calls about people's chicken coops or chickens being raided by fox or coyote or even a bobcat. We're not going to change the behavior of the animal. We're going to change the behavior of people. And that's our whole goal, to understand that wildlife's going to behave the way it does, but we can have a role in how we protect our livestock and how we protect our houses.
One of the things that I was talking to you earlier, you'd mentioned to me that killing coyotes is not always the solution. Coyote issues that we may be having, and can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I could talk for days on coyotes. I'd say that's one of our biggest calls. People see a coyote and they're very fearful. So before I touch on that, the killing coyotes part, I'll just say that if you have a coyote behaving properly on your property, so it's not causing any livestock damage, it's not going after a small pet, you just see it from time to time, I suggest leave that coyote because they're a territorial animal. They're going to protect that territory from a transient coyote or one looking for new coyote, and those are more aggressive coyotes. Those are the ones that are going to cause damage. So if you have coyotes that aren't doing damage, leave them be, let them protect their territory, and then haze them, scare them in any way you can, get them moving in an opposite direction of you. They're going to teach their young how to behave. A lot of times people just want to remove that animal. Coyotes have a biological response, a lot of animals do, that if habitat is open, they'll actually increase their litter sizes. If there's open habitat, that means there's more food and they can increase their litter sizes. So you can actually increase the number of coyotes on your property, which is contrary to what seems feasible, but when killing a coyote, that tends to be what happens.
I'd always heard that, but I wasn't, I guess that was kind of the rumor, but that's true.
But I'm also for taking out a problem coyote. Obviously, if one is doing damage, you're going to remove that coyote from the landscape with an understanding that another one will move back in pretty quickly.
Right.
So.
And we ought to mention if you did want to take out a coyote, what's the legal way of taking out a coyote? I'll be glad to address it, but I didn't know if you wanted to or not.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, a lot of folks want to know, can they poison them? The answer is always no. Can they hunt them at night with guns? No. You can trap them, and they're open year-round, but you can hunt them during the day with firearms. But the nighttime stuff with firearms and the poisoning is always no, okay? And I love the tip on leaving that animal alone if it's not bothering anything, because it's exactly right, Mimi. You're going to get one that comes in that creates trouble. And so just keep an eye on that and see. And even these days, coyotes, I don't know how much they get into livestock. I know they cause some problems, but I always, being from the city, think they're more troubling to your small critters than they are to anything.
Yeah, there's a couple things I want to address. They're not, they don't want to eat dogs or cats, but what they do is they mark their boundaries kind of with keep out signs, and they don't understand why domestic dogs and cats cross those boundaries. So for them, it's about protecting territory, and it's also about protecting their food source and their young. They're an animal that truly does mate for life, and they teach their offspring. So knocking back that one problem coyote is a good idea, but with the recognition that the habitat, the area that it lives in, once attracted a coyote, it's going to attract another coyote.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Good info.
There's one more thing I'll mention, and that's most people think that you can hunt coyotes year-round because they're a nuisance animal. And there's truth in that, but the truth really lies in that they're so good at reproducing that we're not really worried about knocking back that animal to a point that it would become extinct from the landscape. Yeah,
hard. It's my understanding it's hard to do with a coyote, right? I mean, almost impossible to do with coyotes. People bring up the old bounty stuff every now and then, and the bounty stuff, leave it alone. It's a dead thing here, at least certainly with coyotes.
Yeah.
So it's not an issue that's going to help them. Right. Jason, sorry.
Yeah, sure. Another note I had here was rabbits and groundhogs is nuisance. What's some of the issues with rabbits and groundhogs and that sort of thing?
Well, this time of year we'll start getting calls about these nuisance wildlife in gardens, and people want to relocate animals. They want to know with black bear, with any animal that they consider a nuisance animal, they want to relocate it. And there's a primary reason that relocation isn't good is that we don't have the money or funds, the resources to test every animal genetically or for disease. So if you move an animal, recognize that the reason it's illegal is it might be diseased, and then you're relocating it and maybe moving that disease to an area where it didn't previously exist. So those laws are in effect there to protect wildlife, and that's our goal, But when you do have a nuisance animal, I always tell people, recognize that if you don't change the habitat, if you don't change or protect your garden in some way, and you remove that animal, another one will quickly take its place, just like with coyotes, the same with rabbits or groundhogs. But if you do with small game, then you are free to remove that animal from your property as far as if you want to handle that issue yourself. Or, of course, we have a list of resources on our website, tnwildlife.org, that folks can visit.
Awesome. There's a lot of resources there. Let's move on to wildlife proofing. Just some general information on that kind of thing.
Yeah, so if you have if you're a beekeeper, if you have a garden, there's always types of fencing and electric fencing. I talk about permanent changes versus maybe some temporary things that folks can do. Temporary scare devices might be something like the Scarecrow motion activated sprinkler. It hooks to a garden hose. It sends out a jet of water when it detects motion. It does a great job. Obviously, that's not a long-term solution. Animals learn to skirt around those solutions pretty quickly. So a long-term solution might be to invest in something like fencing, electric wire, to look at the area that you've placed something and maybe moving it, some long-term solutions. So if groundhogs are getting underneath a shed, then you want to look at hardware cloth that goes down into the ground that doesn't allow them to actually dig under your shed anymore, an exclusion versus just trying to relocate or kill that animal, because again, another one will take its place.
Has there ever been a liquid created yet that's actually foolproof? I mean, something you can pour out.
You see all those products, and they do work. They do work temporarily. It's just that you have to reapply.
Okay.
You'll see that some folks might use fox urine or predator urine. That'll work for a day, but if a rabbit never actually sees the fox or coyote or bobcat, they're going to start.
It becomes a bad smell.
Yes, it just becomes background noise for them. So
okay, all right. Well, I've just never. I know they are out there all the time, and I'm seeing them for deer and everything else here recently, and don't want to hurt anybody's feelings out there. But I think the fence stuff is better if you're willing to put that kind of effort into it. For sure.
Yeah, I think the long-term solution versus just wanting to remove the animal. We have a lot of people call in and they want a depredation permit for something like a fox. And there are times and places for that, and we don't want to discourage that when it's the right solution, but we also want to look at the right solution, and sometimes that's just changing what we're doing.
Okay.
I was going to mention, back to the chickens. I've got chickens, and I've just got some simple dog panels that I've, fenced them in with those, and I've had to put a little cloth or chicken wire around the door and stuff, but I've never had any issues with
that's great,
with stuff messing with the chickens. But anyway, you've got chickens, I think.
On the way. They're here.
But you've been working on proofing your coop and that sort of thing. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing on yours.
We actually did put hardware cloth down into the bottom. The previous owners left their beautiful chicken coop for us, and we rebuilt the yard. But they showed us the claw marks where the red fox found the only area that wasn't electrified, and actually got in and killed all their chickens. So we know we're surrounded. We have trail cams out. We have coyote, red fox, gray fox. I'm just as concerned with the free-ranging dogs in the area that we live in as with any of the wildlife. So our goal was to protect our chickens long-term and know that we always want chickens. Those animals aren't going anywhere. So we have hardware cloth actually buried down into the ground. It will be electrified. We're on the way. My husband's great with all that stuff. So we're electrifying the outside and just basically getting rid of any little holes that something might try and come into. Even snakes, black snakes get in and eat the eggs. If they can't get a chicken, which they wouldn't eat a whole chicken, but a young chicken they would. But we want to protect our eggs too.
And I've been lucky too. I hadn't seen a snake, so I must be doing something right. I don't know.
That's great.
Anyway,
usually you don't see fish when we go fishing or turkey when we go turkey hunting. So what's the big deal with that?
Back her down, Doug. I think I caught more bluegill. Hey, there's a nice bluegill video out on the web.
There is
check it out.
There's a nice bluegill video.
Just because I showed him where to fish.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
With the fish finder.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Anyway, some more. Still stay on proofing. There's bears in your region, and that's something that's moving moving toward Middle Tennessee a little more, and talk a little bit about the bear issues maybe and some bear proofing.
First and foremost, we want people to know how to behave around bears. So if you should happen to stumble across a bear, we always say, look big, let the bear know you're there, give it a chance to go in an opposite direction. But obviously, bear are moving through people's yards, and if they find shelter, water, and food, that place to raise their young, they don't have any reason to move on. And that's for all wildlife. They're all looking for those things.
And just intervene a little bit here. Bears aren't all over Tennessee, but we are on the plateau doing this show, and there are bears on the plateau, Big South Fork and other places, Mimi, you can tell us about, and then east of here mostly, correct?
Yes.
Toward East Tennessee.
Yes, so we have bear moving through through Cumberland County, Bledsoe County, in areas that we historically didn't have calls, so bear are really moving through. And what we're finding is that people who feed birds year-round or unknowingly have these attractants in their yard, and some of those attractants are things such as grills. They're feeding their dogs or cats outside, and they're not removing those pet food bowls, or they don't have bear-proof containers for their trash can, and they're just leaving their trash outside. Once that bear finds that easy meal, they don't forget.
Yeah.
And that immediately creates a more dangerous situation.
You and our coordinator over in East Tennessee, Matt Cameron, I suppose y'all talk a lot about bears.
Yes.
And the issues and how to handle the PR problems sometimes you get with them.
Yep. Our first and foremost, our goal is to educate people on how to behave and how they might unknowingly be attracting bears, and to get those situations resolved. Again, the wild animal isn't going to change its ways.
Yeah.
We have to as humans, and that means maybe we don't get to feed birds in the summertime. But again, we're going to keep that wild animal safe, preserve the longevity of that species in the area. People always want to know, why can't we relocate this bear? And our thoughts on that are, when it becomes a nuisance in a dangerous situation, where can we move that bear to? It's really unfair to another human community to move what is possibly a dangerous bear. Our last resort and a sad day for people who love wildlife is to have to put down an animal that's healthy, just because of human behavior, not because of anything the bear's doing. But when we reach that dangerous situation and bears become habituated to human food, there's no choice. There's no choice.
Yeah, the choice has to be made to put it down. Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal.
All right, we're doing good. Let's move on. We're going to run out of time for too long. I want to hit all these topics if we can. Attractants is something else that you talked about earlier, or know a lot about, intentional and non-intentional attractants.
So I mentioned some of those greasy grills. Oh my gosh, that just attracts everything. But it could be something as small as a hummingbird feeder. Any source of calories that's easy work for an animal, they're going to be attracted to. So sometimes we put these bird feeders or bird baths in our yard. We have those little water sources, and I call them fast food drive-throughs for wildlife. If it's an easy food source, then they're going to come back time and time again. So that's an unintentional way that we're attracting wildlife. Believe it or not, there are people who intentionally attract wildlife bigger than birds and butterflies and hummingbirds, but they're actually purposefully putting out bread or something to attract those animals out of a fear that they're suffering in some way. And wildlife's pretty resilient. Nature's worked for them for all these years. It's going to keep working for them.
And you got to be careful too. I mean, leaving your trash out and stuff too. We were talking about yesterday and the bear issues around Gatlinburg and stuff, and people leaving their trash out, and so that's another thing. Just put that trash up.
Put it out the morning of. Put it out as close to the time the trash man comes as you can.
Right. We've talked about chicken coops. Let's move on to snakes. You're one of your favorites?
I like seeing snakes first, and when I do, I'm fascinated by them. We have a lot of copperheads around our house, and there are a lot of poisonous snakes, or copperheads and rattlesnakes around, but I just hope that people remember it's actually illegal to kill snakes unless there's imminent danger, and you're definitely allowed to protect yourself and your livestock and your pets, but make sure it's a poisonous snake. Take the time before you remove that snake, because they're actually a beneficial creature. They're going to help us out more than they're going to hurt us.
Right.
I think part two, I've told people on the snake issue, the agency's not going to come out and get you because there's a rattlesnake on your deck. but the agency doesn't want you going way out there somewhere looking for rattlesnakes to kill.
That's exactly
or copperheads to kill. It's not hunting seasons placed on them. It's just a common sense law. And at least in the Nashville area, most of the snakes, all of them I've ever seen in my area were non-poisonous. They were king and rat. And out here is a little different. But in the city, you usually don't see a poisonous snake.
Yeah,
most of the time.
And if you're unsure, you could always take a photo and send it to us. We have folks do that often, and we try and be really quick in responding to those.
I have noticed through the years, Mimi, that if I don't know where the age is now, but at one time it was if you were under 30, there was a chance they were going to listen to our advice on snakes, and if you were over the 30, they don't care what we say; they're going to kill them anyway. That's the way I used to see it. Maybe it's different now.
I hope so.
Yeah, I know you're
so.
trying.
Yeah.
We have been trying for a long time.
I know you say you enjoy getting those calls. Whenever you're in the office, you're willing to help those people out. So
yeah, usually there's someone in the office that's willing to talk, and the ladies that work our front desk, they're overwhelmingly knowledgeable. They have a lot of years with the agency, overwhelmingly knowledgeable and trying to help. We all try and help people as much as we can. And again, the website has a lot of resources on it.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got about 10 more minutes, and we want to touch on one more thing, plus what's happening in your region. But what's the opportunities for watchable wildlife here in Region 3, Plateau area?
Oh, my goodness. So many of the wildlife management areas are beautiful places for watchable wildlife. I always tell people Bridgestone, Firestone, if they've never heard a quail sing, with the changes in habitat, our quail populations have changed because it's really grown up from that grasslands to forestlands. But Bridgestone, Firestone, WMA, if you want to hear a bobwhite quail sing, just go out and sit. It's just a beautiful place. You see a lot of restorative effort there with warm season grasses and shortleaf pine. Mm-hmm. So that's a great place. Any place along the Hiwassee and Hiwassee Refuge. You talk about diversity of birds. Of course, you all know about the Sandhill Crane Festival every Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, but it's a great place for waterfowl and diversity.
Yep.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you want to mention how they can watchable wildlife folks can help contribute to?
Yeah, so most of our funding comes from the great hunters and anglers that we have in the state, and we love them, we are them, and we're appreciative of everybody that contributes. If you're not a hunter or angler and you want to help contribute, if you're a bird watcher or just watchable wildlife person, definitely a lot of different ways. But if they go online, they could buy a license plate from just donating. There's a place online that they can actually donate. And we really appreciate people wanting to support wildlife.
Yep. It's real easy. Doug had some questions on fishing in Region 3 and just different opportunities for people in Region 3. So, Doug.
And Mimi told me that y'all told her that I probably just brought my fishing rod with me.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well,
that's why you got lost. You were finding that fishing hole instead of trying to find where we were.
I did find a lot of nice ponds down the road. It takes a while to knock on doors. Anyway, Mimi, this is a great place I did live on the plateau a long, long time ago for a few months and got a chance to fish some of the places over here. But your region starts somewhere around the Caney Fork River, which a lot of Middle Tennesseans are familiar with, and then comes on over to somewhere on the other side of Crossville, I guess, and down south and north. But there's a lot of water here. What are some of the water bodies they can go on? We've talked to Mike Jolly on the show. We know about Chickamauga and Niggajack and all that, but what are some of the smaller trout-style waters or rivers they can fish?
Yeah, the first thing I'll bring up is brown trout fishing at the Hiwassee tailwaters, so upstream of Reliance and Big Bend. Great brown trout if you're a trout fisherman. Great brown trout in that area. Everybody knows about the Collins River muskie, and that's becoming
Collins River.
That's
famous now.
Yeah, it's becoming a great destination for folks, and that's just fantastic and fun for us. A couple that folks forget about, though, is Spring Creek up in Overton County and the Blackburn Fork for smallmouth and rock bass, both of those.
I've not been in those. What was that last one?
I can't tell you. Blackburn Fork, that's just one that is becoming more and more popular. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful area.
Have to try that. We may have to go shoot each other there, Jason.
Can you send us a drop pin for that one so we can find that one?
Daddy's
it's on the website. I keep mentioning the website, but it is is. If you go to that maps feature, it has all the places that you can fish throughout Tennessee. It's
I know
fantastic.
the trout trucks roll through here a lot too. You
They
guys do a
do.
great job rolling through here, and there's a lot of trout waters here. And also, I remember Daddy's Creek at one time being a really good piece of water to fish.
Yeah.
It had a lot of smallmouth and even muskie at one time a long time ago. Is that still so? Or?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. It's just great fishing. Daddy's
Okay.
Creek area is a beautiful area.
All right, and Catoosa, you want to mention it as far as just outdoors, period.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. And I can say everybody on the WMAs that works on our WMAs right now is just planting those dove fields, sunflowers, sorghum, millets going in. A lot of hard work goes on to help hopefully make our anglers and hunters successful.
Got a lot of wildlife management over there. Catoosa being one of the biggest in the state, it's a great place for deer hunting
It is.
and for small game hunting. And still, is it one of the areas where we still have some hog hunting, or I know that's been an issue over here at one point.
It is. So there's a time that it's open to hog hunters.
One of the very few places left in this
Yes,
state, right?
yes.
Okay, because most of the time we're trying to get rid of them, but
It
Catoosa's a little
is.
different. It's a tradition here.
It is, and I often try and remind people if you love deer, if you love turkey, if you love the great outdoors, and recognize that nuisance hogs really devastate the landscape, and they're hurting the habitat for the animals that we so dearly love and enjoy hunting.
Yeah.
So for us to knock back those populations means something because we want the longevity of all those other species.
Okay, and I know too. You also have, even though it's a state park, I love going there, and it's got a nice lake. Fall Creek Falls comes to
yeah.
mind, and you got over Pickett State Park. And,
Yep, and Grundy Lake. So a lot of people forget about fishing, but we work with a lot of the state parks in stocking. So sunfish, the shell crackers, and red eye right now at Grundy Lakes and Fall Creek Falls. That's great fishing.
I would love to go. Never been to Grundy Lakes either. I would love to experience that. And I think Cumberland Mountain State Park even at one time got trout. Do they still get?
I'm unsure if they
Okay.
do, but we're not far from there right now. We've actually fished that area for bluegill, great brim fishing.
Okay. All right. What else would you, if you were telling folks to come over here, any other ideas or places?
I just remind people that we're stocking Florida, the fisheries crews are stocking Florida largemouth bass right now. Give them time to grow up, folks. It's going to be
They want 'em
6 or
this
so
big
years.
now.
It's true.
Yeah.
Watts Bar, Chickamauga, and Nickajack, those places, Chickamauga is just drawing people from around the nation and around the world at this point. But it's so exciting to see what's taking place because of the hard work of our fishery staff.
Yeah. They do. They work hard across the state, baby. And I want to say that if folks are into Facebook, and you ought to be, because it's a great social media format, nobody in our agency does more work to make Facebook look good than Mime does. She's
Well,
all
thanks,
over the
thanks.
place, and not just hunting and fishing. She does the wildlife viewing, watching. If it's outdoors, she recognizes that there's people that enjoy it, and you do it all somehow.
Thanks.
What's I love that you show what the agency's doing. I mean, what these guys on the WMAs are doing. It's not just about hunting and fishing. It's about managing wildlife and managing habitat.
I get so excited because they're so varied in their skills. They're welders, they're plumbers, they're electricians, and we really try and treat money from our hunters and anglers as respectfully as we can, and they save so much cost in doing a lot of the work in-house.
Yep.
So I appreciate showing off the great skills that our men and women have.
I believe the technicians and the managers, I think they pay for themselves in the first couple of months out of a year.
Yeah.
Because after that, they save the agency tons of money rebuilding sheds and fixing tractors and everything that they do that's amazing, plumbing, everything. So anyway, I appreciate everything that you let us do coming over here. I know we're going to run out of time in a minute or two. And
let's hit that free fishing day. You have a great free fishing day spot here in Spring City and
Oh
region.
my gosh, that's a huge event in Spring City, and the fishery staff that works that, from stocking fish, getting everything ready for the kids, to asking for donations for prizes for the kids, they put some feet to the pavement to get the work done, and they just do an incredible job. I love being part of that day. Hundreds of people show up for that one. Fall Creek Falls Free Fishing Day is another big one. There's a lot that take place, and folks can find that complete list on our website.
Yeah, June 11th. Don't forget the day.
Yep.
it is June 11th, all across the state, not just on the Plateau, East Tennessee, West Tennessee, Middle Tennessee. Look at the top of our website. It's got an outdoors calendar on it, top of the website, and there are maybe 100 things listed so far. It goes on and on and on and on. And Jason really did catch more bluegill than me, but don't tell him I said that.
Well, thanks for sharing your bait.
Anyway, Mimi, thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a great show, Mimi. Appreciate you letting us come out in your domain out here and hosting us, and it's been great. Don't forget to watch us on twra.tv or on YouTube. Go to tnwildcast.com or tnwildlife.org. Anywhere you can listen, watch, and be a part of the show every week.
And the shows are out there all the time. Thank you, Don King, for helping us. You did all the tech work here today. And thank you, Rod, for letting us share your home with your wife.
Yep.
And your dogs.